Buckle up, sports fanatics. This is the Sports Chasers Podcast, your HQ for in-depth sports talk. Join host Kevin L. Warren and crew as they dissect the hottest stories, ignite debates, and bring you closer to the action. From locker room whispers to expert takes, we cover it all. It's game time, so strap in and grab a drink. The Sports Chasers Podcast starts right now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? What's going on, everybody? It's another edition of the Sports Chasers Podcast, man. And this is the interview sessions, man, where we sit down with prominent, notable people in the world of sports. And tonight, I should say tonight, we got a banger tonight. But before we meet our guests, hey, make sure you like, click, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit the bells for all the notifications. And those that are listening to us under the sound of my voice, give us that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star review, 5-star review. That helps with the algorithm. Lovers or haters, you've definitely been doing that. Let us know how we're doing, man. But we appreciate you tonight, man, in this pre-recorded session. DA, what's up, brother? How are you tonight, sir? DA, are you there? DA's not there. DA's not there. Well, I'll go from there, man. Let me introduce my guest, man. Let's just go right into it. DA may be having some technical difficulties here, man. So, hey, we're going to go right into our guest here tonight, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Chasers Nations, tonight we got a big one tonight. I said that before. Joining us on the Sports Chasers interview sessions is a man who has lived and shaped college football from the inside out. He's an author, a coach, a thought leader, and yes, the son of legendary Joe Paterno, but he has built a powerful legacy of his own. With over 2 decades coaching at the collegiate level, including 17 years at Penn State, he knows firsthand the pressures, passion, and purpose that defines big-time college football. His new book, just for theatrics, Blitz, the all-out pressure of college football's new era, is a must-read for anyone who cares about the future of the game. We talk about it on this show here. Diving into NIL, mental health, leadership, and what it really takes to survive in today's high-stakes college football world. A respected voice in sports, leadership, and culture. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Jay Paterno. Jay, what's going on tonight, man?
Not much. Just looking forward to having a conversation with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Man, this is great, man. I was so happy when I saw my email and then I saw your people's reached out to us, man. And I was like, man, this is great, man. And I appreciate you, man. But man, let's jump right into it, man. Blitz, the book Blitz, as I highlighted so often. What moment or shift in college football convinced you that you had to write this book? You've been an author before, but yeah, what made? Well,
I've spent a couple of years consulting on NIL stuff. Helped set up Penn State's first collective. And, talk to ADs, coaches, and people all over the country about this stuff. So gathering all this and seeing all the things that were going on, I had written a book called Hot Seat, which was a couple of years ago, which took you behind the scenes at that time of what it was like to be. And I wrote it as a piece of fiction, but it was all based on true stories. So everybody said, well, what happens next? You ought to write something about what's going on now. So people kept saying, you ought to write this. So I started to write it. And the good thing about it is because it's what I call nonfiction fiction.
Right.
I can tell true stories, but then assign them to different schools, assign them to people that aren't real people so that lawyers don't have to spend, 2 years poring over everything. And so I didn't have to worry about starting my car up in the morning and having it blow up like The Godfather because I told too many stories. So I was able to put them. So it really takes you into what's going on. I mean, these are real stories, but because they're told as fiction, it allows me to be completely honest without having to worry about any repercussions.
I did when I started reading it. I was like, okay, I see how he's going with this. So that means I need to get the other one once I finish this one. Probably need to read the first one for it to go back in there. So, like I said, NIL, it's been the wild west. Let's dive in. Let's go into NIL. And well, let's just set it up with before NIL. Safe to say, kids were getting paid before. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Santa Claus is not real, y'all. Just like
Wait, what? No, but I mean, there's a point in the book that one of the guys that's coaches, one of the fictional coaches in the book, talks about, and he's an older guy,
Right.
and he talks about early in his career, sitting in a hotel with $50,000 in a brown paper bag, and he traveled with a gun because he didn't want somebody to take his money. And that was based on a real conversation. I had a guy that I coached with years ago
Right.
before I came to Penn State. And he said, yeah, he goes, of course we had a hand.
Did we lose Jay? We might have lost Jay. Jay, are you there?
It's been going on for a while. But now, the NIL stuff is it's all allowed. Now, that said, with revenue sharing, with NIL now being legitimate, it doesn't mean what is that essentially what that means is now some of these guys, some of those illicit payoffs under the table come back as a way to avoid NIL accountability, or as a way to get around the revenue sharing.
Now I got you, and I was just going to say to you also with this. So where was I at there? Oh, we was talking about of course NIL and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Let me get this out of here. All right. Okay. So, all right. So yeah, NIL, and like you said, the brown paper bag. That's a real funny thing, man. So when did you think it all started? Well, not all started. Why hasn't the NCAA kind of done something about? Maybe do they like this chaos? Is this self-induced problems? Why can't they fix this? Like I would see this to be sometimes an easy fix, but to me it's like they want it to go on. I don't know.
I think so. When California passed the law back in 2021, I think if you go back to 2020, I think one of the biggest turning points in college athletics will be COVID, because
Yes.
we made our athletes come back to campus. Mm-hmm. We sequestered them. There were no other students on campus in the fall of 2020, by and large. And the players had to adhere to all these things. And the players and their families are going, well, why do we have to do this? Oh, because you need your television check. So we've got to make these sacrifices so that you have content to sell to Fox and whoever. So I think that's when the families and players started to go, hey, we know what the deal is here. Where's our cut of the money? California passes that law, and the NCAA basically says, we're going to ignore it. We're going to get involved in litigation. And they've lost every case. And I think the NCAA is afraid to take a stand on it because everything they do ends up in court and they end up losing. Now, what should happen now? The powers that be, and as a member of the Board of Trustees at Penn State, this is a conversation I'm having with trustees, not only here, but at other schools. We need to get involved, and we need to figure out where this plane is going to land. We need to say, be honest about what we are. These guys are, we taken about $1.1 billion in TV revenue from the Big Ten. That's just the Big Ten. That's not March Madness. That's just the Big Ten. And just say, look, they're employees. So let's be honest, and let's get to a collective bargaining. So now there's a framework for everybody, that there are rules to be followed like the NFL does. The NFL doesn't have the problems we have. And we're essentially the second most popular sport in the country right now. So let's be honest. I'm old school. I don't necessarily like it, but I also have to be realistic about what we are.
You said you hit it right on the button. I think we're up here parading around like, shh, don't say nothing. Like kids, nah, it's over. It's over.
Listen,
go ahead.
Northwestern said, was it 10 years ago? Let's unionize. Let's get our arms around it. You ain't gotta like it, but you always got to get out in front of the truck, because if not, it's going to run all the way through your house. So
no doubt. And the reality is this: when you talk to ADs and coaches privately, they'll tell you they want collective bargaining. because it protects the school too.
Yes.
That's the thing we're being dumb about. It's like, okay, I signed the best running back in the country. We put all kinds of effort into him. And a year later he goes, you know what? I didn't get the ball 20 times a game. I'm gone. If you got a contract with him that's a 2-year or 3-year deal, he at least that there has to be some conversations that take place. And at least you protect your investment because we're investing in kids too. I mean, and what you don't hear anybody talking about in this whole process is the education.
Yeah, well, no one cares about that anymore.
No, I mean, but that's point. I think if you look at Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman's doing a great job with kids that belong in school and are going to school, and that's what you can do both.
Oh,
and that's what we should be doing.
You can. I think, college football is just weird now because I think the whole scale of things have just gone askew, right? So 5-6 years ago, right, you should have 100 kids on the team. Now I think it's down to 80. Now you can't get as many kids in. Like you're not recruiting freshmen because you've got kids coming up from Townsend State. So now the high school kids that want to come play football there, they're not there. So your team's not ever going to have that same continuity because it's. And I'll give this example of Jay, because you've been in the game for a minute. Like when you're like black colleges could never have great football teams because we were always bringing in players transferring in, either transferring down from somewhere they got in trouble at, or whatever, right? So you didn't have that continuity of players, and that's what's happening now, right? So you're not going to have that freshman class that we used to talk about back in the days, schools bringing in 15, 20 kids, that's a school that parents went to or whatever, they got that loyalty to the school. They're going to stick around and make it happen. You don't really have that much anymore because of the way the money is rolling, so you got kids coming in, taking spots, right? Because they're getting salaried, and then other kids that are good 3-star kids, those 3 stars that turn into 5 stars, that doesn't really happen much anymore. So they'll just get a Tuesday night kid. And I say Tuesday night, Townsend State, Dayton, one of those kids that can play. But they come in there as a 3-star at Dayton, and they learn how to lift weights. They learn how to do classwork. They learn how to run. They learn how to work out. They learn playbooks. They learn how to they play running back. They learn how to read blocking assignments, all the rest of those things. So you don't have to teach them, at the big school in the FBS anymore, right? So what happens is you roll the whole system 4 or 5 degrees quicker than they would have been. And the game itself usually ends up being the detriment to the game. So what happens in conferences is that you only have 2 or 3 teams in the conference that's really, really good, because you can't keep. It's only going to be one SEC. And I'm sorry, and I really wasn't into the SEC till I moved down here, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is different, and I started, my sons played, and, I met a lot of dudes that played in SEC schools living in the Charlotte area. And I was like, yeah, it is different. Yeah, it is different. And, whether I believe Indiana, and like I tell Kevin, dudes get on me on the podcast, I do think they can win games. I do think that in a one-on-one game against Alabama, they might be able to get them, right? But, it's a football game. The FBS schools both got $1 billion locker room and iPads and everything else, right? So, yeah, you see that should be what happens. But like I said on the show last week, if there's a top 25 and 10 teams are from the SEC, there's a reason. That's just what it is. Yeah. I didn't put them there. I didn't put them there. They take this thing real serious out here, like very serious. So much so where, Charlotte, who's, they can't get a 4-star, 3-star kid in UNC Charlotte. Can't get one. Matter of fact, Bill Belichick can't get a 5-star. So, no, he can't. He can't.
Oh, he can't. Yeah,
right. Can't. He can't. ACC is not going to get a 5-star kid out here. He'll go. The 3-4 of them that are playing all went to the SEC. and they're usually all offensive linemen and defensive linemen, 6'8", 300-something pound kids playing in the NFL now, going to Georgia or going to Tennessee or something, because that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Got you,
So,
Jay. Go ahead.
that's just, I was just saying, Jay, to me, that's where the guys at the top where you're at, I don't think it'll work with you guys, but there has to be a way to get some real parity in the game where kids can go play like they used to. I mean, yeah, I know the game is different, and I understand that part of it. But, it's very hard to get in the requisite amount of 4 or 5 star players into every school and be good every year. It just doesn't happen anymore.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Indiana long term.
I think
because
right
now they're playing really, really well, and they've got some kids that can flat out play.
Oh yeah, they got some balls.
But can they continue to do? And they've been big in the transfers as opposed to high school guys.
Yes.
They've got 28 guys in their roster right now that are in their last year of eligibility, some of whom transferred in this year. So the question is, can you do that long term? Because it comes down to this. You can build a roster. Building a roster is easy. Can you build a team out of that roster? You can go get all the great players you want, but can you get them to play? And the funny thing is, we talk about college football. It's bleeding into every other sport. Women's volleyball right now, they've got agents. Men's ice hockey, they've got agents. Men's basketball, they've got agents. Women's basketball, they've got agents. It's happening. Women's soccer, men's soccer, you're starting to see them show up, and they've got the head coaches are dealing with, it used to be parents. Yeah. Now it's, where do you position and what are you going to do in NIL? What are you going to do in terms of revenue sharing? And it's really changed all the games. And the idea that you can just roll out the ball and get the best group of guys and just show up and play, you got to, coaches right now got to be masters at dealing with egos and getting these guys to play together. I mean, I don't know anybody ever dealt with egos better than Phil Jackson when he was with the Bulls and then with the Lakers. And he talked about those challenges. That to me is a real challenge in college coaching right now, is dealing with all the egos that people have. I think you look at what Ryan Day was able to do last year at Ohio State and get those guys after they lost to Michigan to kind of put everything behind them and go. What Harbaugh did the year before in terms of getting those guys to all come back as older guys and put the team above themselves. You can argue sign stealing, all that stuff. Maybe that had something to do with it. I think
in the Big Ten, you guys have a built-in, right? So Ryan Day could get dudes to come do it because, listen, we can beat Penn State. We can beat Michigan. And maybe if Michigan State's good that year, we'll kick them twice too, right? So you feel good about what you're doing. You have that built-in rivalry there. It just seems to me that, as you state, it's just hard to tell, and how do you become a program and not just a one-off team?
Right? Absolutely. That's the challenge.
Because I know Rick Pitino said on TV, he said, I'm not looking for any freshmen to come in this year. He said it. It was not even and people, and unfortunately, I'll let you go, Jay. I'm sorry, but it's with the TV, which I hate, the talking heads. They make it seem as if it's all about the kids, but they say, these kids always want to transfer. I said, listen, if Bill Belichick brought in 70 players, that means he let go 70 players.
That's what nobody's talking about. Where do they go?
Yeah, there's displacement, man. There's got to.
That's why you need. That's why you really need collective bargaining. You need those kids need to be protected. When Deion Sanders went to Colorado, it was like he 70 guys are gone. Well, where'd those 70 exactly? We said where'd those guys were all in the middle of an educational process, supposedly in school, and now you dump them out, and that's
So
unfair.
Let me ask you this, Jay. So NIL is transforming the sport, right? Do you see this as empowerment for athletes or chaos for college programs as well?
I think some of both. I think the reality is the people that cover the sport have taken the side that the athletes should be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want, and that's not the real world.
No.
And the sooner we say, okay, we're going to make this a two-way street. We're going to give you this, but you've got to be able to give this away. I even before NIL, I used to argue with people on our board of trustees. Say, look, we should be offering two different situations. If you come out of high school and you want to be able to transfer any time you want, you sign a 1-year scholarship with us. And if you want to leave at the end of the year, you can. But if we want to let you go at the end of the year, we can do that too. Now, if you want to sign a 4-year commitment, then we'll allow for some transfer things. But there are certain certain things, process you're going to have to go through, like there used to be, where you go to the coach.
Oh, we lost him. Jay, you there?
There we go.
Yeah.
Did it freeze up again?
No, you're good now. Go ahead. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I think he's just fixing his
Okay.
laptop.
Did I freeze up on you guys?
No, you're good now.
You're good now.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll edit this out and make it look all pretty and nice. So, D-Dubs, what's up?
Froze up again on me. Sorry about that, guys.
Nah, you good. Let's
Okay.
Going down tonight.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You was talking about the NIL, the chaos with the kids.
Yeah, and I think it's great that kids can do some of the things they're doing, and have some ability, because it's allowing some guys. In the years past, we've had guys that left that were 3rd or 4th round picks because they needed the money. Their families were in a situation. Whereas had they been able to make some money, stay another year, they may have become a 2nd round pick or even a 1st round pick, and they can develop a little bit more. And I think that part of it's good, that there's not a rush to go to the pros for some guys that aren't ready. And some guys, they come from family situations, they need the money. Yeah. And it's good that they can get their hands on it. And the revenue sharing part now, this is the first year of it. That's another element where now schools can do certain things for student athletes. But again, there should be a two-way street on it.
Let me ask you this. Let me dive into the other portion on the coach's side. And I'm probably sticking up for DA when he says this. What about the coaches? Do we hold the coaches, I guess, their feet to the fire with these programs? If coaches saying, hey, I'm going to stay here for the X amount of times, they can just leave when they want to.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the coaching contract situation right now is an even bigger mess. When you start talking about buying people out for $49 and $50 and $75 million, that money's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're talking about, you look at the governor of Louisiana is getting in the middle of it. You know why? Because he's hearing it from people saying, we're paying all this money in tuition. We're doing all this stuff. We got tax, all these tuition dollars, tax dollars, things going to LSU, and they got $55 million or whatever to throw away on a coach. That doesn't make any sense to us. And who hired him and who gave him that contract? And the agents have just rolled the schools. Yeah. A 10-year contract, $85 million, $90 million guaranteed. It's insanity. There's not. Nick Saban is as good as has ever done it. I wouldn't give him a 10-year contract, simply because so many things change so quickly. 4 and 5, 6 years out, that's enough. But you're giving guys 10-year contracts, and then they come in and their agent says, well, the first year buyout for us to leave is $10 million, but by year 3 or 4, it's only $2 million to leave, which is nothing. But if you want to fire him, you got to give him $50 million. It's a power imbalance. And these coaches and the presidents are afraid to say, okay, then go hit the road. And they don't realize there's plenty of coaches.
Yes.
Plenty of coaches. There's a lot more great coaches out there than people think. A lot of them you've never even heard their names before. If you went back 4 years, Dan Lanning, he was defense coordinator at Georgia.
Yes.
Oregon took a shot on him.
Yeah.
And, they weren't all thrilled that they got Dan Lanning. They are now, and they should be. Dan Lanning's a hell of a football coach. but somebody at Oregon knew enough to talk to people that knew enough about football, rather than getting some search firm to tell them, oh, we got to go hire this big name guy or that name guy.
That never works. That
No.
rarely ever works. Most of these guys come off of good staffs, and then it's like, okay, well, he was under this guy for a while, and you saw what he did. And they used to have the Nick Saban home for rehabilitated children.
Yes.
You have a problem, you go there, Nick. You go there. Laney was there in Alabama. What's my boy out there in Texas after he got let go?
Sarkisian, yeah, absolutely.
All those guys, and Kirby. Well, Kirby was with him, but yeah, that's the home for rehabilitative misfit coaches. You go through Alabama, and you're back on top. But I think, because I see a lot of coaches that are great coaches that get that big name, and then they get pushed in the position where they're not ready for that yet, because being able to deal with the sponsors and the alumnus, and that's the biggest part. I talked to a coach at Tennessee. He said that was the hardest part of coaching there was the alumni, and dealing with that was far worse than getting players. He said the players was easy. It was making sure everybody else is satisfied, because everybody had to have their piece of the of the chicken. So it's definitely not easy, for sure.
And they all think they know what they're talking about. And none of them do. None of them do.
It's hard, man. It's hard, man.
No question. They all think they're the team owner.
Yeah.
At least in the NFL, you got a team owner, and that's who you deal with. In college football, anybody that writes a check to school thinks they have the ability to to come in and tell you who you should play, who you should recruit. That all comes through in the book. You have situations where these guys put up the NIL money to bring a guy in, and the guy's not as good as they think, and the coach doesn't play him. And now these guys they're all upset because I paid to get this guy here, and I bragged all my friends about I got this guy in your roster, and now he's not playing. You've had situations where now you have NIL guys that want to look at film of guys before they write a check.
Yeah,
Wow.
Like they know what they're looking at.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Jay, let me ask you this one. What NIL reform in college sports would you want to implement within the next 2 years if you had it your way?
Well, I think NIL has to be real. It's paying a guy to tweet twice a month about something that's not real NIL. Like if you look at like State Farm gives Patrick Mahomes more money than any of us. He's making more money from State Farm than God. But as State Farm says, if we put Patrick Mahomes in a commercial, there's a return on our investment. It's going to boost our all these things. So if you do those things, like Caitlin Clark, there's no question there was a return on investment when Caitlin Clark was playing basketball.
Sure.
It made sense for them, so they put her in commercials. But what you have is these other situations where somebody's just giving a guy a check and saying tweet twice a month, or hey, it's pay to play. That's not real NIL. So when you talk about NIL, there's real NIL and then what we call synthetic NIL. Now, because of the revenue sharing that started July 1, some of that starts to go away because now you truly do have pay for play. So the NIL deals that you're getting now should be legitimate, but are they fair market value? You had guys making $50,000 a year who was a backup left tackle to do 2 hours a month, not a week, 2 hours a month promoting something on social media. 2 hours a month, that's 48 hours for the whole year for 50 grand. And some of you guys are complaining about, oh, well, this is a lot of work. You're making $1,000 an hour.
Really?
If you want to do that, you better go to law school or med school. You better be in the NFL, or you better go to law school and med school. And even then, you won't make that until several years down the road. So stop complaining. Do what you got to do. We had situations where one school, kids got Teslas. Okay, they all wanted Teslas. Then they realized, oh, well, I got to go charge it somewhere. I can't. Guys, it's not like an iPhone. You can't just plug it into a cord at your apartment. And so then they went back and said, we want BMWs. It's like, you know, like, what are we doing? Like, what are we creating?
Yeah, you can't start it. And that's when things get bad. You just can't start it.
Oh, I only got a Tesla. You know what I drove in college? I borrowed my parents' car occasionally because I went to Penn State and they lived 3 blocks from campus. I mean, hell, my 1986, I'm a freshman at Penn State on the team. We win the national championship. Joe Paterno is the head coach. He's been the head coach here for 20 years. He was driving a Ford Escort.
Shout out to Coach. Escort. How many miles?
Not a Scat Pack or a Hellcat.
He said, hey, it gets me from point A to point B. What do I need?
I'm not mad at that, dude. It depends. If you deserve it, if you playing, you get your Scat Pack, but you gotta be worth it, man.
Yep.
You know? They're gonna give it to you for you not to play. You know?
Let me jump into this transfer portal thing. On our show, it's absolutely been a sore point. Is the transfer portal helping players find better opportunities or hurting players' development and locker room culture? In your thoughts?
I think both things are true. Some guys are getting to positions where, you know, they get in a better situation, get a chance to play, get a chance to develop. The guys that are jumping around to 2 and 3 schools, I don't think it's helping them at all. It's not it's hurting them academically. Mm-hmm. They're not getting settled into a situation that's good for them. I think it's too easy a cop out. The minute things get tough, and the minute you get somebody, it doesn't go your way, the answer is go somewhere else and play. Let's go somewhere else. And if to go somewhere else, I'm going to be promised a starting job. I'm going to be promised this, that, and the other thing, rather than, hey, I'm going to sit here and fight it out. And the more you see the guys that do that, the happier it makes me, because I like seeing guys get rewarded. Arch Manning didn't start the last 2 years. But you know what? He said, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to develop, I'm going to learn from Steve Sarkisian, I'm going to become the best player I can be by going through the system. But the other thing you mentioned, locker room culture is so important. And like I said, it's easy to build a roster, it's hard to build a team. And when you bring too many guys in, we talk about Curt Cignetti. One of the things Curt Cignetti did that was really smart is he brought a bunch of guys with him from James Madison.
Yeah.
They could play, but they also knew what was expected, and when they got there, they could tell the other guys, this is why we do certain things. He brought a number of coaches with him, so he had a built-in situation where he had guys that understood what the demands were, understood what the culture of the locker room had to be, and could translate that to everybody else, because everybody's different. Mm-hmm. So I think it hurts teams when you just start bringing guys in all the time, and they all come in and I got X amount of dollars to come here. What'd you get? And now you got sore points. Well, wait a minute. Why'd he get that? I've been here for 2 years. I'm your starting left tackle. Why is this guy just showed up playing wide out? That hasn't done anything for us, getting more money than me.
Yeah, you was still good. So.
Yeah, I know. I coached here back in 1994. We weren't this good.
Yeah, they're good. They're still good. But and he's plus he's getting paid. Right, so they put his name on the top of every list. I'm like, he's not going anywhere.
No, Curt Cignetti, no.
It's a good life. He has a good life out there.
And he's 61 years old. I don't think he's at the point.
Yeah,
he wants to go jump, and not that that's old, but I don't think you're a guy that when you hit 61, you're having that kind of success, and you just sign a 10-year contract. I don't think you're looking to jump around.
And I think he understands what he has.
Yeah,
it's been
and they appreciate it.
Here.
I mean, Rich Rodriguez, when Rich Rodriguez went to Michigan, I was like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, Rich had a good
You can stay there and you'll put a statue up and you'll be in the hunt 2 out of every 4 years. They're going to love you.
West Virginia killing them, man.
Guess what?
Matt White.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask this. This is going to lead up to my other question. You talk about the pressure cooker of college coaching. How different is pressure now versus 10 to 20 years ago?
Well, there's no rules. So, I mean, you have guys that can go on Twitter and say, I'm transferring, and they don't even talk to you about it. Those things can happen to you all the time because of cell phones and everything. When your guys get in trouble, everybody knows about it. You know, you get a guy that gets in a bar fight, there are people tweeting and videoing it and putting it out there. And, you know, when you're the head football coach and your phone rings at 12:30 at night, it's not the academic advisor telling you got 15 guys that make dean's list.
Yeah,
You know,
So let me,
that's not the call you want. So you're getting these calls and everything is, you know, you got people hearing about your guy getting in trouble before you hear about it.
uh,
And they can do more stupid things with a phone than they ever could before. You know, even when I was coaching, you know, this goes back 10, 12 years ago. I used to tell guys, you know, you got to look at your cell phone like it's a loaded gun before you point at somebody, before you step in front of it. You got to understand you could ruin your life with it, and don't mess around with that crap. You know, everybody now everybody knows you don't step in front of it with a Solo cup in your hand, which is hilarious. The red Solo cup, like I can have a Diet Coke in a Solo cup.
yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm drinking, but I mean. I was at Fox. I was the Ohio State Penn State game on Saturday, and I was on the set with the just off set with the guys from Fox, the Big Noon Kickoff show, and they had some guys come in. They had red Solo cups, and they go, no, you can't bring those in because that means alcohol. And I'm like,
Perception.
technically no, but that is the perception. Like
Brown paper bag. That's
absolutely yes. I mean, look, I'm old enough.
yeah, right.
I'm not old enough to remember when the Red Bull wasn't an energy drink.
Right.
The Red Bull was
Schlitz
top shelf malt liquor.
There you go.
There you go, Jay. D-Dub,
I'm definitely showing my age now. I don't think you can get Red Bull. I don't think they make that in the Schlitz malt liquor Bull. Don't say Bud, say Bull.
Oh no, Kev. Only thing I had was he was talking and I was saying, so you don't have like a what was that show, like a Olivia Pope to somebody to damage control because you get hit with like
scandal.
You know, yeah.
Oh yeah, you need a crisis management firm all the time. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you need somebody in Stratcom. They call it Stratcom now. It's like
right.
But I mean, you need somebody that's constantly, when you're a head football coach, that person's in meetings with you all the time. Like they're constantly, there is always somebody talking about if this happens, what do we do? Hey, this is your messaging, and you got lawyers around that you didn't have before because, if a guy leaves your program or does something, you go out and say something, you may hear from his lawyer. I mean, and there's agents involved and there's all these things and you got to have someone sitting down. You got to have a financial guy that's sitting there saying, well, here's your pot of a revenue share. How much do you have left to pay for this, that, and the other thing? And how much can we pay for that quarterback? So you got all these other people. And then you got analytics people now that are saying, all these things are coming at coaches where, when the game actually starts and the ball's in the air, that's the only way you get away from all this crap. You know where all your players are at that point. And they can't get in any trouble on the sideline, at least you hope. Or they could get into it with a fan. I mean, you never know anymore these days.
They might be tweeting on the sideline. You never know now.
Oh, I know.
No. That is a good program.
Who was the guy that did the touchdown celebration? He hit the phone.
Oh, that was Joe Horn. Was it Joe Horn?
Yeah.
Joe
Horn. I mean, what's next? I mean, like they're gonna pull it out and tweet, take a selfie and put it on Instagram or whatever.
Right.
Jay, let me ask you this. Like I said, this is going to lead into my next question. What's the best? What's the good job to take now of all the fired coaches?
Well, I'm biased, so I'm going to say Penn State. But I think I think what it is this. I don't know that there's one best job for everybody. Okay. I think one of the mistakes that schools do is they go out and say, we got to get the big name, and it might not be the right fit. If you're a school like Penn State, are you going to get somebody who has been a West Coast guy his whole life? Or are you going to get a guy that doesn't know? Same thing with, if you're LSU, there are certain things that come with that job. Ed Ogeron got it. There's no question he got it. They loved him. Yeah. And I don't even know, and he had a couple of bad years after having one of the best teams ever played college football. And, now they'd love to have him back probably.
Oh, yeah.
But, he got that place. Guys that, it takes a different guy. USC's different than Penn State. So all these things are different. Florida's a tough place to coach because
hard.
And you got to be, you got to recruit that state really, really well because your fan base, they know every 5-star and 4-star recruit in the state of Florida. If you don't get them, I've had that conversation with Urban Meyer a number of times. Like Jay goes, if we don't recruit certain guys, we heard about it, and that's Urban Meyer. I mean, you think if there's somebody who deserves who had the benefit of the doubt should get some slack on who to pick on his team, he's a guy that should have it. But even he felt like there were certain guys they had to recruit. So I think it's everybody's a little different. I think, but schools should define what their program is and go get somebody that fits that. Barry Alvarez was, after he retired from Wisconsin, was the AD there for a number of years.
Yeah.
And he had to hire 2 or 3 coaches. And over the course of him being AD, they averaged over 10 wins a year.
Yeah.
So he knew he's a football guy and knew what kind of guys would fit into what he wanted to get done.
Run first.
Yep.
Need to run first, dude.
Yeah, and we know we can recruit big linemen in Wisconsin, so we got to take that attitude. And they did it worked out for them.
Gotcha. What's if you would give some leadership advice to some of the younger coaches navigating this NIL and social media, what would you do? What would you tell them?
I think the most important thing is to have a foundational set of values. So this is what I stand for. This is what I believe. This is what our program is how we're going to run our program. Now, you can change how you attack that. You can change the tactics, strategies, things like that. But at the end of the day, you got to have something that's consistent because I think no matter what, young people want consistency. They want to know what's expected. They want to know, I got to go to class and I got to do these things and I'm going to have to follow certain rules. And we're going to have this approach when we go out in the field, and we're not going to get stupid penalties, or we're not going to get into it with other, you got to have that as your foundation. And like I said, you can change things. Joe, I coached for Joe for 17 years. The things that he believed in didn't change, but he was able to change how he got kids there, how he talked to them, how he approached. One year, he had a tough year, and the next year he came back and he had a leadership group that he met with, so that there was Joe didn't change what he stood for, but he changed how he communicated with guys. If you talk to, Urban Meyer and I have had the conversation, the way he coached in Florida was different than the way he coached at Ohio State. He was more communicative, more engaged with them, brought in more outside people to talk about life lessons and things like that. So I think those are things that you want to be able to do, but it all comes down to, you got to know who you are first and foremost. And you got to understand that your program is not for everybody. You cannot sacrifice those things to get a guy that you think you have to get. There's tons of great football players out there you can win with. And if you sell your soul to get one, you've sold your soul for good.
Yeah. There's millions of them.
That's a big point there.
Hey, I got one question, Kev.
Go ahead, D.
Just getting back to the book, how has the reception been from the book, the critics and everything? How's it been for you? It's
been really good, and a lot of people are like, "Man, I can't believe you wrote about that. You knew about that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I knew about that." That's been the funny part, is people like, "How'd you hear about that?" Or what? But I think people are, once they read it, they're like, wow, this is even worse than I thought it was. Like, we need to get our arms around this thing and kind of make, and I think the other part that's been really good about it is I've heard from a lot of people that said, it's great that you talk about the mental health aspect in this. I think that's been one of the things that's been really good, is coaches don't take care of the mental health, and players don't take care of the mental health like they should. And there are real pressures. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've been a mental health guy my whole life. I haven't been. I've been, suck it up, rub dirt on it, and get out back, go back out and get back at it. And if you're seeking mental health, it's because you're mentally weak. That's not reality. And the NFL's really taken a different approach with it. And I think colleges should take a different approach for it. Not everybody's on board with it. Ryan Day at Ohio State talks about it a bunch. A lot of people give it lip service, but when it comes to it, they don't necessarily want to do the things they got to do. And sometimes coaches think that interferes with their approach to the game. And I think they got to get over that. But I think coaches have to do it too, because like I said, it's a 24/7 job now. And you've got one of the parts of the book that comes into it is there's a point where the head coach in the book has not necessarily a psychiatrist, but he has somebody who's advising him on certain things. It says, hey, when you go away in the summer spend a couple of days with your wife, turn your phone off. What do you mean turn your phone off? Put someone else in charge back at the office for 3 days. I'm just asking you to do it for 3 days.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's like, if there's a serious emergency, we know how to get a hold of you. Otherwise, turn it off and actually spend time with your kids and your spouse, because you need that. And I think those are the things that part of the reception has been really, really outstanding, where people are like, it's so great to hear somebody talk about that stuff.
Wow.
It's good for you.
Yeah, definitely good for you. Let me talk about some leadership and legacy and family. What lessons from your dad still guide you daily? From which ones do you now interpret differently in today's college football climate?
Well, there's a couple parts now. Let's talk about like from the social media and coaching pressure and criticism stuff that players are getting and coaches are getting. My dad used to always tell me, don't get in a pissing contest with a skunk. And it's absolutely 100% true. If you go out in social media, there are skunks everywhere. And if you get in the back and forth with them, you may think you win, but you still come out and you stink. I mean, don't get into it with them. Don't get in the back and forth. And that's really hard, because guys are out there promoting products on social media to make money for NIL. And with that access comes criticism when you throw an interception late in the game. Or when and if you get back, and if you're going to get in the back and forth with them, you're not going to win. These people, they no matter how much you go at them, they're going to make you smell worse than you can make them, because they have nothing to lose. And so that's one aspect. The other aspect is, you're never going to get anybody to like you. You got to understand, you got to be who you are. And, when you look at it, my dad used to say to me, we believe Jesus Christ was the Son of God. He had 12 apostles. One of them betrayed him. So even he couldn't keep everybody on board. And who the hell do you think you are? And I mean, it's reality. You're never going to get everybody to like you. It just doesn't happen. And so those things, if you want to be a leader, you got to understand that. And there are going to be pitches that are thrown at you, so to speak. You can't swing at every pitch, because some of these pitches are outside the strike zone, and you're going to swing and miss and you look bad. The only thing you got to do is you got to understand what matters, what has true value and significance, and that's what you've got to react to and take care of. And I think that's for any coach. And I used to hear that all the time. Like, don't worry about those people. They got no impact on your life. And those were things that really helped me as a coach, because, we lost the game. It was tough. People came at you, and you said that we're not worried about it, because once that creeps into your mindset and you're trying to chase approval of other people, you're not really doing the job you should be doing.
It's a fact.
You can't go back and win that game that you lost. It's already done.
Yep.
Nothing more you can do with that. With everything you experienced, what gives you hope for the future of college football?
I think the reality is the game, the intensity of it, the excitement around it. I think there's going to be enough people that suddenly start to say, let's make sure we don't screw this up. I think at some point there's going to be some leadership. I know there's some really good people I know that are trustees at other universities I've talked to. There's a lot of interest in getting this right. So I think at some point it may take us longer than maybe we want it to take. But I think there's going to be some people that emerge that start to say, look, let's do what's right for the kids, but also do what's right for the school. Let's get control of this thing, because we don't want to blow this thing. And I think that'll happen. So that gives me some hope. And I see that, there's still, you look at, I mentioned Marcus Freeman before, mentioned Ryan Day. There are some young coaches right now. And I say young, they're relatively young. I think there's some people trying to do the right thing. And I hope that they have success. I hope Penn State hires somebody in that mold that wants to do things the right way, because I want to see those people have success and build things, and then they become the model that everybody else chases. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit.
Do you have a personal favorite?
And for the job here at Penn State,
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere near that one. Well, it's going to be tough enough for the administration to pick the right person without me weighing in.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I know, like, if I name somebody, especially if it's somebody who's coaching in school right now, and it gets out, then they all of a sudden they're going to call me, hey, why are you throwing me in that? You're getting me in trouble. I got asked about that at my press conference. So, but it may be somebody we haven't even thought of. Who knows?
Like you said, sometimes there's a whole lot of young college talent out there who absolutely can bring your program to the forefront, man. So
they're already doing it. They just have to put it on a bigger stage. That's all.
Yep. Good point.
Those coaches have the program. It's just, that's all.
Yep.
So let me solve all of college football right here, Jay, because I'm sick and I'm going to bed. You ready? One word: relegation. Right? This is what we're going to do. We're not going to do it in the FBS because that's too much of a pissing contest, and everybody thinks they're the best, and they're not the best. But I'll take it down to FCS, right? So if you're the champion in one conference for 2 years in a row, you move up to the next league. So you got the Missouri Valley's number one, Big Sky, UAC, Ivy League, SOCOM, CAA, Big South. Who else? Southland Patriot, MEAC, UAC, and SWAC, right? So if you win yours 2 years in a row, you move up, right?
Yep.
You move that 4 years in a row, you move up to FBS. Then you get to play with Memphis, right? If you do that, then you get to move up again. Bad teams go back down. I'm telling you, people watch that tournament. People watch the tournament. They love because it's more competitive games, right? When JMU plays, even though JMU pretty much beats a lot of cats now, but the reality is their games are better in at that level than they were at the FBS level last year. Because there was only 3 good games on the first weekend. That were good last week. Scatterboo had a good game. I think there's maybe another game. The rest of them were blown out. So, but JMU had a good game. And anytime you see the Jackrabbits play, it's a good game. Whether it's North Dakota State against South Dakota State or East Dakota State or cold somewhere in the Midwest, cold somewhere else. Always good games. If you watch the Division II championship and the Division III championship, especially, those are great games. Want to know why? Because those kids have nothing else but football in their hearts. Telling you.
Yeah.
Telling you. You'll see.
I think right now, everybody wants to expand the playoff. No. And then you get the reality is there's 4 or 5 teams that legitimately can win the thing.
Correct.
And just creating more content, there's not 16 teams that deserve to be in the thing.
That's just like ESPN.
There's not 12 teams that deserve it.
We talked about it before you coming on, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, it's you start talking about kids are going to play 17 games. You're out of your minds.
Stop, right?
Just stop. Look, dude. I mean, you tell me that the 12th ranked team is going to go beat Ohio State. It's not going to happen.
Never.
And at least they fixed it to where they didn't give buys to because last year the 3 best teams were Ohio State, Texas, and Oregon. They were all on the same side. But now, as a Penn State fan, I'm like, we got SMU and Boise to get the semis. We'll take that. That was good for us.
Exactly.
Because we probably got further than we really deserved. Oregon wins the Big Ten, they get Ohio State. Thanks for winning the Big Ten. I mean, they should have got to call their own shot. Wow, you're undefeated, you're number 1, and I got Ohio State in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. I love Arizona State, but they didn't deserve it. Look.
But
it was like TCU against Georgia 2 years before. Not good.
Yeah. More content, more TV money, and we sit here and go, why are the kids going to be greedy about it? Because they expand the playoff. You're the only group that's not in the discussions to expand the playoffs to the players.
Yeah.
In the NFL, you want to add a round of playoffs. The NFL, those players are getting a cut of it. they're at the table saying, "Oh no, you don't," and they want to go to 18 games. Guess what? Players are going to be at the table and they're going to get something if there's an 18th game. And I think that's one of the reasons I think you're starting to see this push to get this 16-team playoff by the goalie before they have collective bargaining, because they know if there's a union across them, they may not get 16 teams.
Yep.
They may not get it because they say, "You want us to play how many games?"
Wow.
Yeah, it's not good for the kids. It's not good for class. When do you go to class?
That's
As someone who went to class.
Wait, class?
Hey, I had to go. So
I'm making 7 figures in my NIL deal. Why do I go to class?
Not everybody on the team is getting 7 figures.
Man, what are you talking about class?
Not everybody's getting that. So
Jay, before you get out of here,
it's like Allen Iverson. Class? We're talking about class?
Hey.
Jay, real quick before you get out of here, a couple of questions. Hardest decision you ever made as a coach?
Oh, geez. God, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there was any that was really that hard. I was pretty fortunate in that, most of the guys we started, whatever, were pretty clear cut. I think the one thing that I did was I made a decision that when there were some opportunities to go elsewhere, I said, you know what? It was a hard decision, but it was the right decision. I said, I don't want to leave before my dad retires because I don't want to be somewhere else when he walks off the field for the last time. I'd really kick myself.
Gotcha.
If I did that.
Gotcha. What one rule you would want to change in college football to today, tomorrow?
Oh, geez. Somebody needs to define what the hell targeting is and what targeting is.
Man. Thank you, sir. All right.
I mean, look, and I'm all for the safety of the game. There's no question about it. But I mean, when you're taking 5 minutes to decide whether somebody's targeted or not, that's too much. I mean, we know what it is. We know what it looks like. And when you start to micromanage that, I think that's wrong.
Hey Jay, do you know how I could get on the committee to figure that
For the
out?
targeting rule?
Yeah, because there's a lot of rules out here that's just really ridiculous, and I want to know who's on these committees because they can't be like the rest of regular America, just out here. Just everybody else knows what targeting look like, but
right.
The rules and committee people. But
I
digress.
Well, you got lawyers involved, and that's the reality is that they're getting sued over concussions.
Yes, they are.
And so that they got to show that they're doing everything they can to minimize that. And so that's part of what it is. And, so if we could get lawyers out of the game, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
But you can't get lawyers out of anything anymore.
Yeah.
And the meter is always running with the
always running.
Always running.
Most underrated leadership skill, Jay.
I think compassion. I think the ability to understand the people that you're leading. I think that's one thing, and the other thing is not being afraid to do what you ask guys to do. If you want people to do certain things, you've got to be an example. And I think we live in an era where a lot of people that are quote unquote leaders are saying, "Oh, well, you do this, you do that." I mean, I don't want to get in the whole political thing, but I mean, the number of political quote leaders that hold up the book,
right,
and then don't live that. Like, if you want to be a degenerate, be a degenerate. Just be honest about it. Like, I like to do certain things, but if you're going to hold up the book and then turn around and say we're not going to give, do certain things for other people, then that's not leadership. And people see through it.
Gotcha.
100%.
My last one. Best advice for young players entering the NIL era.
When you pick a school, start out with this premise. Pick a school you want to go to school at. Because football, you could get hurt day 3 and never play it down. And you better be somewhere you can get the education that you want and that you're going to be happy. I think so many people are just chasing dollars and they don't really look at, is this really where I want to be, around people I want to be around? Facilities, everybody's got nice facilities. Everybody can put money in your pocket, but if you're not around the right kind of people at a place where you want to be, you're not going to be as successful as you should be.
Good point.
Gentlemen, boys.
And don't be afraid to compete.
Man, don't be afraid to compete. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, he's Mr. Jay Paterno.
Thank you, sir.
Don't forget to get the book.
Get the book.
Get the book, Blitz. It's out. You can get it on Amazon. The links will be in our description. Jay, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence tonight, man. This has been fun. This has been great. And we got to have you back again, man.
Anytime you guys want. This was a lot of fun.
Relegation, man. Relegation.
You've been watching too much Premier League.
Hey, man, my whole life, man. My whole life, man.
I just started watching Serie A in Italian soccer because I'm Italian. I'm starting to get it now. I'm starting to get the whole soccer.
It makes coaches coach. It makes coaches coach, GMs GM, and players play.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the whole soccer thing.
Yeah, so. You go down.
All right, man.
Jay,
thank you, man.
Have a good one. Take care.
Y'all be good, man. This is a Sports Chasers podcast. Y'all be good, be great, be blessed. We'll see you in the next time.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Sports Chasers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms and connect with us on all social media channels for exclusive content and updates. We'd also love for you to join the conversation, share your thoughts, and become part of the Sports Chasers community. And remember to tune in next time for some more real sports talk. Until then, stay frosty.